For the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a roll call, please.
Mayor Hassler.
Here.
Alderwoman Cleghorn. Alderwoman Johnson. Here. Alderman Donovan.
Here.
Alderman Jokers.
Here.
Alderman Eidman.
Here.
Alderman Rainey.
Here.
Alderman Prince.
Here.
Alderwoman Armbruster. Here. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Move for approval of the agenda.
We approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Takes us down to a personal appearance. Gina Bryant is here to do a presentation. She's the Executive Director of the Housing Authority and will present the Annual Housing Authority Report for 2022.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. Pretty much the same as last year's. Got the same people on the board, the same staff. Let's go. I highlighted some important things. As of December 31st, 2022, we had a total of 90 residents with 47 minors. And then income for the calendar year of 2022, our flat rate rents were $439 for a 2-bedroom, $576 for a 3-bedroom, and that is 80% of fair market rents minus utility allowances. For 2023, our flat rents are going to $517 for a 2-bedroom and $642 for a 3-bedroom. This is about a $60 increase for residents. We have applied for flat rate exemption, which if we are approved, it would give us 2 years of lower rents, which they would be, if approved, is $457 for a 2-bedroom and $585 for a 3-bedroom. And as of December 31st, all 30 apartments were occupied. Wait list, we had, as of January 1st, we had 8 families on the wait list. In 2022, we had approved 10 new families. 4 of those families were extremely low income. 34 applicants' families were removed from the wait list. Out of the 34 that were removed, 11 were denied, and 23 were non-responsive or found other housing. For housing inspections, we are required to go along with REAC inspections for HUD to make sure that our units are taken care of and qualified. So during COVID, they were paused. So the last time we had gotten a REAC inspection was 2019. And at that time, our score was 77, I believe. I didn't write it in here. And our score for 2022 was 81. And the majority of the findings were trip hazard in the sidewalk and some erosion around flower beds, and so pretty minor things. That then for operating subsidy, that's the grant that we get from HUD to operate the housing. They were for 2022 operating on a 95% payout, so we got 95% of our operating subsidy. And that amount was $64,389, and tenant rents collected for 2022 was $100,000 for $509.27. So our operating subsidy had went down from previous years because it's based on how much tenant rents we're collecting. So the more tenant rents we collect, the less operating subsidy we collect. So it kind of balances itself out. In capital fund, we were approved for $87,530 in capital funds. This is the grant that HUD gives us to modernize our units, keep them up to date, and make repairs. We have not spent any of this money yet this year because I'm waiting for a contract that was approved and given to Joker's Paving Inc. to repave the street. And the rest of the money is going to be spent on replacing 3 of the 16 roofs. And then the rest of the money will go for random things like water heaters, furnaces, or whatever breaks. So, and let's see. And so last, what I find is the most impressive, because when I first started, we were substandard in HUD's qualifications, and so then we moved to standard. And this year, we have, with our REACT scores and our financial management, or it's called our FOS score, and we are now a high performer. So, yeah, which I feel like we would have reached a lot faster if it wasn't for COVID, but we are now a high performer in HUD standards. So,
Great.
yeah. Any questions?
Yeah, go ahead, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
that's all right. Gina, when will you find out about your flat rate exception? And if you receive that, is it retroactive?
It is not retroactive.
Okay.
It's whenever we're approved, then we get 2 years after that. So,
Okay.
and I don't know because HUD is having a lot of movement, so there's a lot of vacancies right now. So they're a little slower to respond.
Okay, so just once you're notified, then it'll go into effect?
Yes.
For two full years?
Yes.
From that date? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. Mhm.
Any other questions? I understand you're moving on.
Well, I don't know yet. HUD hasn't found out about my criminal past yet, so.
I don't think there is one.
I know, so I'm still in the background check process. So, but yes, as long as they don't find out about what a criminal I am moving on.
Known you a while, so I don't think
Yeah.
it's gonna, unless you're hiding something.
Yeah, so I'll be a portfolio management specialist with the HUD St. Louis field office. So where I have a HUD person that I ask questions to, and they make sure that we're filling our vacancies and we're spending our money correctly. That will be me. I will be the HUD lady.
I just want to thank you very much for your service there, because I've been around Robinwood, and it's always had not a very good name, but you've sure done a tremendous job there, and the atmosphere of the place is better, and I know it's been a relief for our police department and everybody else. And
Yeah.
thank you so
And
much.
it's in even our overturn, our vacancies, like last year, our normal vacancy, like where they're waiting on the wait list, is about 3 to 6 months. And last year I had actually reached somebody that was on the waiting list for a year.
Yeah.
So that is tough for people, to have to be on the wait list that long, but right now we're about probably 6 months on the wait list, so. But our
And that's
turnover is less, and and I've had a lot of contractors that have come down to the property and really given Joe, the maintenance guy, a pat on the back, because they say that it's the nicest apartment complex in town now. So
Yeah, absolutely. So
I always say it's because
We're
the
gonna miss
manager's
you.
a jerk. So
What's Joe's name?
Joe, Whaley.
Whaley,
Joe Whaley.
Okay.
Mhm. He's been the maintenance for about a year and a half now.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good deal.
Yeah.
again, thank you, Gina.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully my replacement will be just as a crazy person as me.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Takes us to our city administrator's report.
So first, before I get into the report, I want to introduce
Yes.
Hannah Lynn Dollar, who is coming in remotely tonight. She's our new tourism marketing director.
I don't think she can hear us. There she is.
I'm sorry. Say that again, please.
Just
I
introduce,
missed my cue to come on stage.
so I was just introducing you and saying that you're our new tourism marketing director. So welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so outside of that, you've got your updated city administrator report at your seat. Welcome Center roof was completed on Tuesday by Minor Shagan. There will be some extra costs once they got into it. They found out there was water damage, no surprise, to the roofing, to the plywood that was underneath the roofing. So just wanted to keep going ahead. We just need to get it done. So everything is sealed up and nice and dry, even after the snow. After a walkthrough pre-bid meeting for the 2023 asphalt overlay project, it was determined that Jefferson is not going to work out if we try to pave it, repave it. It's going to take a mill and pave, and the sidewalks are broken up. It's going to be impossible to do unless we do a full rebuild. So that's going to be more of an expense than what we anticipated. We can budget that next year if we want to look into it a little further. But there's still some repair work that's going to have to be done along those sidewalks to make it work, the sidewalks and curbing. So I've talked to Steve and David. Steve threw out South 10th Street from Market to the railroad tracks. That's probably the next street that we would need to do. That should be fairly simple. We can include that, and the contractors will go out there and take a look. The square footage is about the same, so it should be about the same as what we estimated for Jefferson. If you want me to move forward with that, I can include that with the revised contract for the contractors. Or revised bid work, I should say. Okay, so it sounds like everybody's on board with that.
I'd still love to revisit that block, though.
It's going to be, so you can take what I put down, which was the 12,000 square feet. It's probably going to, about $20,000. It's going to be about 60 to 70,000 just for that.
Okay, I just don't want it to fall off the radar.
Right.
If we can do it next year, that'd be great.
Right.
What does that look like as far as the sidewalk work? Is that something the city's gonna have to do because it's gonna be part of the engineering?
If we can, because the engineers are going to want to draft that into it, then we would have to do it if we couldn't get the homeowners to do it. So, whether that can go back on the homeowners or not, we'll pursue that later, but we would have to do all that sidewalk along there. Some of it's driveway that just needs to be redone as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't fall off the radar, because that block's pretty terrible.
Okay.
Speaking of falling off the radar and stuff, we talked about funding for engineering for 9th Street, but we never did put anything in place for that. We talked about just not taking it out of the actual paving money.
Right, it's coming out of capital projects. So I got the contract from Cochran today. Prices have gone up. We figured about $450,000 to begin with to redo that street. It's now up to about $600,000. The engineering will be about $48,000. I've asked them to redraft the contract because they had in the contract doing the engineering and the construction engineering. I said, well, we're holding off on the construction. We just need the engineering done. So if he's supposed to give me a new contract, you'll see that in February.
So that is Market to Ridgeway,
Yes.
the cost.
Yeah.
So is it out of the ordinary to possibly do them in stages?
We can phase it, but I don't know if it will.
I mean, our engineering fee or engineering costs shouldn't change. It's just the actual cost of construction.
Right.
We could maybe break it down.
But there may be an issue with whatever you fix up the street, how's that going to affect how it is collected as it goes down?
Right.
When you're during construction, you can have those issues and try to mitigate them. But if you just leave it for another year, does that cause bigger problems?
Well, with the elevation and the slope up there, maybe start at the bottom and go up. Right.
Right.
Yeah, so we can talk with the engineer about that and see if we can throw it into phases. Item 8, we were going to do some cast-in-place piping that crosses Lafleur, but it's turned into a mess because the 8-inch pipe that we estimated there shrinks to 6-inch. We had bid it as an 8-inch because we thought that's what it was, and then found out it actually turns into a 6-inch by the time it gets to Kiefer Street. So that's problematic because they didn't have the equipment to do the camera work that day because they had estimated an 8-inch. And I don't know if they can do the lining in the 6-inch. Most of the time they just do it in an 8. So we may have to do some other work on that line before we can get completed.
So you're thinking that 6-inch may not have enough flow, or?
I think the 6-inch is probably restricting what's coming out of the 8-inch. That's one of the problems. So we're looking at, we would need to do something with that pipe to keep that flow at the same elevation.
So how many feet is that approximately?
I'm going to say 600 feet. Yeah. So we just bumped into a few roadblocks on some projects we were wanting to do. Any questions about anything on the report? Anything else? Good.
Thank you. Takes us to our staff reports. Jason Crump, Police Chief.
Good evening. You just had my report in front of you. I've done some totals for the last couple of years, just so you can kind of see a comparison. It's staying pretty even. The K-9, Officer Cuccinelli, arrived back in town Tuesday, so his K-9 partner will be with him tomorrow morning for the first shift. Everything seems to be going good with it. Still down one officer. You can see we had some equipment issues that weren't expected in the budget. We had to get repaired. We did get approved, after I'd done the staff report, we did get approved for the block grant that I had reported on that we applied for. So that was $10,000 funding to get our last 2 MDTs. So we'll have everybody with their own MDT. And then you see about the cost of the new vehicles, which will be on the agenda later on. But that came in at the state bid pricing.
Any questions?
What's our time frame though for locking in that rate? I mean,
I talked to him today, and he confirmed that we would have about 30 days or so to get it locked in. So if it's agreed on to make the purchase tonight, then the next meeting we could bring the contract and vote on it, and that would go ahead and secure the money, and then they would just hold the money until the actual vehicles came in. But the rate would be locked in at the current rate.
and then how long to get the vehicles?
How long until we get them?
Right.
I have no idea.
All right.
I know they're taking delivery on some that have already been ordered about 2 months ago, so I hopefully wouldn't be too long out.
But at least we can lock in the cost for the
Correct.
vehicle.
Correct.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Steve?
Evening, everyone. So everybody's got my report. Touch on the electrical building at the water plant. We received the last box of siding. All construction will be done as of tomorrow on our end. Bruce Terry Electric has, or BT Electric has installed numerous components inside the building. Lots of wiring, lights, outlets, panels. Bad part is we're still waiting on the generator transfer switch, so we can't bring power into that building until that's installed. As of now, they still do not have a delivery date for that piece of equipment. So we'll continue to stay up to date on where they're at with it, and I'll update you as we know more. So. Blaine Street wall at Market and Blaine was hit actually a couple times, I think. So getting prices on replacing that wall. Pretty much last month we had a real bad cold snap, sub-zero temperatures, spent a lot of time protecting equipment and the rest of our assets from it. So, have I got any questions? Bob?
Steve, that whole conversion over from the electrical panels in the old building until the new building, that's got to be a pretty complicated thing. I mean, we have a plan in place.
We're very flexible on our end as far as water production goes. So we can accommodate the contractor to some extent, so we can shut off different portions of it, and they can switch over one section at a time. So we'll work together on it without issue, I think.
But I mean, you have to, all of that wiring from the existing panels carry over to the new
Correct.
building and stuff, and that's all like high voltage.
Yeah, it's all 480 volt. So.
Distribution's got staff repaired or replaced 10 frozen meters.
Yeah.
What is the homeowner's responsibility?
It is the homeowner's responsibility to protect their meter, and most people don't know that, so we'll replace it once, and we'll notify the homeowner of the issue, and it's their job to protect them from freezing.
That matter of putting insulation in there with it?
Yeah, we have foam discs that we can install in there for them or help them. Some people pack them in packing peanuts, pellets. They shove regular insulation in on them, newspapers, phone books, whatever. We've seen lots of stuff in them, so.
Well, it works, huh?
Steve, I forgot, I'm sorry. Had a person asked me when the power goes out, you know, like we had some power outages and stuff, how long can these lift stations operate? And then what happens?
It depends on which lift stations. Some lift stations have generator backups and some do not. But most of them have about a half a day before we start seeing an issue. And at that point, then we'll monitor lift stations during the power outage. We'll take a truck out there and we'll pump it into a truck and haul it to the wastewater plant.
Well, I've seen the one up by me that was a year or so ago. You had to
Yeah.
do something was out up there or something, but,
So,
okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Any committee reports? No committee reports. Are there any public comments? Floor is open for public comments. So at 6:21, we'll have a public hearing. And the mayor and the board of aldermen will conduct a public hearing at which time citizens may be heard on proposed water sewer rates to be set by the board of aldermen. Is there anybody here to comment on that? See no one, so we'll close the public hearing at 6:21. Takes us to our consent agenda.
I was working on this. Can we do it next meeting?
Okay,
So can I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, but amended to not include the closed work session from January 12th?
Second.
you second that? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Alrighty, takes us to old business. Takes us to the second reading of bill number 4525, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a proposal for professional services with Cochran Engineering for the St. Mary's Road Sidewalk Trail Improvement.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I'd like to have a roll call, please.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes?
Alderman Donovan.
Yes?
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster. Yes. 7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4525 now becomes ordinance 4453.
Thank you. Takes us to the second reading of bill number 4529, an ordinance repealing section 135.175.
Move approval.
Second?
Have a roll call, please.
Alderwoman Armbruster. Yes. Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4529 now becomes ordinance 4454.
Thank you. Takes us to the second reading of bill number 4530, an ordinance adopting section 700.010, disclosure of utility billing records.
Move approval.
Second?
Have a roll call, please.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes?
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4530 now becomes ordinance 4455.
Thank you. Takes us to new business. We need approval of purchase order for two 2023 Dodge Durangos for the police department, the amount not to exceed $81,836.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Need a motion approved of a low bid of $8,000 from R&W Dirt Work for replacement of retaining walls east and west sides of Blaine and Market Street.
Move approval.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Takes us to the first reading of Bill Number 4534, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of St. Genevieve and St. Genevieve County for the county to provide 911 dispatching services for the calendar year 2023.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Takes us to the first reading of Bill Number 4535, an ordinance amending the City of St. Genevieve Municipal Code of Ordinance, Chapter 210, offenses.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Takes us to the first reading of Bill Number 4536, an ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending Municipal Code, Chapter 715, user charge systems, specifically Section 715.040, user charge rates, subsections A and B, by revising the water use charges.
Move approval.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Motion for second reading?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Takes us for the second reading of Bill Number 4536, an ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending Municipal Code, Chapter 715, user charge systems, specifically Section 715.040, user charge rates, subsections A and B, by revising the water use charges.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Have a roll call, please.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4536 now becomes ordinance 4456.
Thank you. Takes us to the first reading of Bill Number 4537, an ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending Municipal Code, Chapter 715, user charge systems, specifically Section 715.140, sewer charges and billing, subsection D, by revising the sewer use charges.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion for second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Takes us to the second reading of Bill Number 4537, an ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending Municipal Code, Chapter 715, user charge systems, specifically Section 715.140, sewer charges and billing, subsection D, by revising the sewer use charges.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4538 now becomes, 4537 now becomes 4457.
Thank you. Takes us to the first reading of Bill Number 4538, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a revised contract with Megman Law Firm authorizing a rate increase for legal services.
That's a big amount, but motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Is there any other business? If there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Call to order anyway. So I'd like to move for approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There you go, Happy. Ready or not, here you are.
All right, so at least I don't have to start the first subject
Yeah.
off. The first subject is on tiny homes. We've been looking at that as a potential option for some of the properties that are in town. And David's been working diligently on this and taking other codes, other districts, other municipalities, and how they implement them. So I'm gonna let him kind of take over and talk about them.
So when we talked about housing and lack thereof in the beginning of this conversation, this was one of the options we talked about making available to our citizens. There are two routes that you can go about. We do have a planned unit development option in our zoning code, and then we have a special use option called community unit development. Those require a certain amount of acreage, and there's some other requirements like for recreational space and things like that. So looking through several other municipalities, not necessarily in Missouri, but some in Missouri, there's an option for an overlay zone. So that would basically be, you would apply for an overlay permit if you had, what I wrote into the code was 4 acres or more, and then you could build, if issued the overlay permit, you could either subdivide that into smaller lots. What I wrote in was 4,500 square feet. They could be smaller, they could be larger, but that at least means you don't have to abide by the existing residential code, which requires 7,500 or 8,000 square feet in order to put a 250 square foot home. You know, if you're a minimalist, you're probably looking for a smaller lot in addition to a smaller house. So this overlay zone would be an option where someone could apply for it, and then they could either subdivide that into these lots, or if they wanted to build a tiny home community, they could do that also with these restrictions. The other option is some communities have just made tiny homes an option in their mobile home zones. It could just be written into code that way. We already have the building code for tiny homes, so they could just make their mobile home lots tiny home lots if they went that route. Though what we've written in, or the option that you're looking at, is just tiny homes as an option. So there could be tiny homes and trailers or mobile homes. There's two options there, one with tiny homes on a foundation, one with on a foundation and on wheels. I would suggest we just stay with foundation. But the overlay zone includes that. So if you would like to pursue the overlay zone, it would make that as an option in mobile home zones to begin with. And then if you got an overlay permit and you had the acreage to do it on, you could do 4 acres in an R1 zone.
So you're suggesting not allowing the tiny homes that are built on trailers,
Correct.
like utility trailers?
If you wanted to take it off the wheels, set it on,
Some footings?
some footings, yes, sir, and then build a cover around it, a shell around it, you could go that route. Same thing you could do with a mobile home currently.
So, I mean, what is the real concern with the actions? I mean, we allow them on mobile homes.
My concern is that this is all being done to make available permanent homes. And you could just back up to this and pull it away as long as you knew how to disconnect the water, sewer, or even if you didn't,
Right.
you did it incorrectly, yeah.
I mean, most of them I've seen, that's the way they're built. They're built on axles and, you know, you can. I was just kind of curious as how to,
Yeah. It's about 50-50 out there. I mean, not much in Missouri, but there are other states that have tiny home communities that have more square mileage than our city, and a lot of those are built on foundations.
right. Now, when you talk about a foundation, though, I mean, then you're under all the applicable building codes then.
You would already be under the applicable building codes. What I wrote here in the definition of one on wheels was that it would need to be built to those specs, because obviously mobile homes aren't built to home specs, and it's the same way here.
That's why I was wondering if that's where the actions came in, you know.
So the process would take us through planning and zoning first, because this is a zoning code, for approval, have a recommendation to you. I would just prefer to take to them whatever you'd like to see, which would expedite the process.
After looking at all this and having conversation with David, I'm really leaning towards the overlay, because I think it would allow a little more flexibility throughout town, and yet a little extra involvement as far as the city goes in the process. I think the one thing I would like to see in that ordinance, if we go that way, is a notification of neighbors, much like we do with a special use permit. That's not, according to the conversation we had, that's not something that would be required, but we could add that.
Correct.
Thank you. So that's the way I'm leaning. I do certainly have concerns with anything not on a foundation, especially because this will all be specifically written for year-round permanent, residents, not temporary housing or anything like that. So I would definitely lean towards the foundation, but I think I like the idea of the overlay permit over the other two options.
And this would allow someone with, as written right now, a 4-acre lot or larger to come to planning and zoning, apply for this. If we choose to go that route, we would notify the neighbors. So that prevents, a tiny home from being, even though I doubt that it would happen, it prevents a tiny home from being placed, on an empty lot in St. Jude or Rozier Edition, next to $250,000 homes.
So one of the community developments that uses tiny homes is the Veterans Community Project. This is out of Kansas City. This is what they had built as a community, and then they've got like a community center. But this is what the development would look like, because you're not putting it on a lot. You're putting it in a group, and so you arrange it. You get to look at that as in a sketch plan to say we like the way this looks, or we don't like the way this looks. And it gives the builder a little more option. It gives you a little more option to say, well, yeah, we'll let you put in X amount of homes, but you need to do this, this, and this to dress them up a little bit, or different colors, or something, something along these lines. There's projects like this in St. Louis as well, and in different cities. But this is what you can do that has turned out really well.
Are those on foundations, it looks like?
Yeah,
Okay.
slabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just wanted to give you kind of a visual.
And from what I've read, this model, the VCP village model, has worked really well. I mean, they're replicating it in bigger cities, of course,
Yeah.
but it's worked pretty well.
So is this where you're talking about the 4-acre parcel to be able to put this type of development in?
You could do that, or you could make individual lots, like a, kind of a trailer park home.
Right, but then you talked about the 4,500 square foot lot size.
If you wanted to subdivide it.
Subdivide
This
it.
is more of a community unit.
Right.
Yeah. So that would, if they wanted to get an overlay permit, they would apply for an overlay permit, and then they would also come to us, probably through our community unit plan. So you would see it a couple times. So you'd have some definite, say.
Right. But if they wanted to just go with individual lots, then it's
Subdivision.
it's allowed, and you
Yeah.
just subdivide it. You're not getting into the specifics, like you would say, well, you need this and this, or we'll allow this, you're not getting into that negotiation aspect.
So even in that type of development, the 4,500 acre or 4,500 square foot lot would still fall into?
No, they would come to us with a plan, and we would look at it,
Look at
planning
it.
and zoning,
Right.
then you all, yeah.
Because our current, what is 9,000 for?
7,500 in R2, 8,000 in R1.
8,000.
So does the overlay permit have some support, or would you prefer just a,
For me, I think so. I agree with what Susie said, and something similar to like what we require with the special use permit with the notification.
okay? So write the notification, I can do that.
I like the development, just kind of keeping them out of other people's areas, but it's,
And there are some parcels that are in between, not in the subdivisions, but, there are some, I'm not going to say them out loud here, but there's some 4 or 5 acre lots that are in between other homes where it could be possible, but we have some say over that.
right.
Dave, does code specify, does it speak to mechanically how a structure attaches to that foundation?
I mean, they would still have to abide by standard
Okay.
building code. as far as those aspects.
So we wouldn't need to protect ourselves in any kind of ordinance or any kind of narrative that prohibits a real estate transaction. The owner of the property is not going to be able to sell the lot without the house and move the house. I mean, any future real estate transactions are going to they're going to include the structure and the lot and the land that it sits
I mean, if
on.
someone's building one to sell, like a spec tiny home,
Right.
It would have to be on a foundation.
Right. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that we don't leave ourselves vulnerable to separation of that
The building code
structure
is all
from
the same except for
Okay,
some
yeah.
intricate details like lofts and egress.
Okay.
Obviously, there's some smaller measurements there.
Okay.
I guess what's confusing here is, is in item 6, that the undercarriage foundation, needs to be screened, constructed, those are areas of mobile homes almost, and axles and those type of things, because it's, when you talk about building codes, you're talking about anchor bolts right to concrete and right to building material.
So, and that's, what I was bringing up is I prefer to just stick to the ones on the foundation.
Mhm.
So that.
So built in place.
Yes, that
Right.
piece could come out. I mean, some of them can still be brought, not unlike a modular home, and put onto, you know what I'm talking
Right,
about.
set in with a crane
Yes,
and drop
yes.
into place.
However, under number 6, if the overlay is what you would pursue, there are several of these, again, in other municipalities that write in these design features as part of the code. I think my suggestion would be Happy kind of alluded to this, we would talk through this process with the potential developer and encourage these types. I put it in here just to make sure if it was something you want. There are municipalities out there that have written it into their code that you have to have some of these things on these in order to keep them from being just cookie cutter tiny homes. But I think it'd be better just to encourage a developer to use these tools.
Now, what do you mean by cookie cutter? Just all of a lot?
Sure. But when we go through the process, if someone were to take this route and come to us, we could encourage them to use some of these steeper pitch roof lines, dormers, built-on porch, shutters, just to make it not like that.
Right.
And you don't want them just to look like a bunch of 12 by 20 sheds.
Right.
Your shipping containers there?
Correct. But I think what we'll do is pull this out and we'll just encourage it. When we get down the road, if we have some interest, we'll make some pamphlets to hand out to folks who want to go down this path. Any other feedback?
Very interesting.
So this will, whether it's interest is taken, I don't know, but, people will have the options. So,
So is there any other municipalities in the area that's,
not local. They have some, like we adopted the Appendix Q building code.
Right.
If you want to build it, but nobody else that I know of in this region
Right.
has done this. There are some in Missouri. There's a lot more in more populous states.
right? I pass one regularly out in the adjoining county, and it's a nice looking building, but it is built on an actual.
And there's some
but
in
it
our
is built
county.
in a rural
There's
area.
some villages, some Airbnbs that have popped up where there's 3 or 4 of these.
Right.
All right.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Okay, item 2 is employee benefits and perks. We had talked about this at budget time, got busy with the budget and postponed this until later, so it's back to look at now. These are just some options. This is not like, let's adopt every one of these because they're great. I just wanted to give you a wide range of possibilities if you wanted to do something that you thought would be beneficial for employees, and especially with today's market, trying to attract people, if you think these would be things to include in our employee manual. So we can go through them one by one and kind of just talk them out, like paid holidays for part-time employees. You probably want to define the hours of a part-time employee so that it's not just all of them, because like our police officers, Our part-timers may work 8 hours a month or 12 hours a month, whereas I've got one part-time employee who's 24 hours a week. Then I've got the people at the Welcome Center, and they put in 16 hours to 24 hours in a pay period. So it just depends on, we can kind of narrow that down, but that's a possibility. Or if you think, again, if it's not something you want to offer, you don't have to. Employee assistance program, and this is for mental health and for assistance to find daycare and maybe senior care. One of the groups that we looked at, because I just got the information today, was from Dearborn Group through Lakeland, and they've got telephone counseling and face-to-face counseling. The cost, it runs from $1 to $2 a month per employee. So it's a small amount to make available, but we also have some of that available through our health insurance. So that's one of the things that we hadn't looked at. That this would offer, that would be in addition to what we have with Live Health Online Psychology with Anthem. So that's been kind of a situation that employers have looked at with mental health issues going through COVID. Allowing part-time employees to sign up for health insurance. We wouldn't pay the premium, but we would allow access to sign up for it. So we just make that available. It might be cheaper than going on if they wanted to sign up. And maybe with, they've got family that they're on right now. It would be cheaper if they just went on it themselves. I don't know, but that's just something you could consider. Flexible schedules. So we've talked about 4-day, 40-hour weeks, which then ends up with a 3-day weekend for employees, which is great, except when you're trying to have your offices open 5 days a week, that becomes problematic. It doesn't become problematic when everybody's working. It becomes problematic when you got vacations and somebody gets sick and somebody has to take funeral leave. There's a number of issues that can happen. Or if we could vary the hours some. Or some cities do 9 hours a day for 9 days, and then they get that last Friday off. Again, the issue comes down to making sure that we staff the front counter. But that's something that the city can offer.
And this
So-
would only, I'm sorry, but
Nope,
this
go
would
ahead.
only apply to city hall staff.
Yeah,
Which is a couple of these on the list, I thought
right.
would only apply to certain groups of employees.
Local event tickets, if you wanted us to use city money to buy tickets to the Winter Music Series, and then we give them away to employees. You could put your name in a hat or whatever. Police, anybody could do that, but that's a possibility. More casual dress during business hours. Do you realize how many people come in this office that wear jeans, sneakers, that visit us? Business casual is just not, most people don't wear business casual anymore. They wear jeans. Maybe a nice shirt or a logo shirt, but I mean, it's just, it's not the way it used to be.
So you're talking about all the time or like a particular day of the week or something?
We already do Fridays as casual day. Yeah, I'm talking all the time.
I mean, but surely if the governor was coming or whatever, you had a meeting, you would dress it, you would use.
I'd get my nice jeans out, yeah.
So then are we
Get my
gonna,
bib overalls.
You'd use some discretion with that.
Yeah.
But
so then I guess we're gonna have to come up with a dress code of what's appropriate, or?
We would specify, yeah. We would have to specify, jeans, with no holes and.
No shorts or?
Yeah, no shorts. We don't allow shorts now, but I mean,
Right.
but tennis shoes, not ratty tennis shoes, not flip flops,
sensible
not
footwear.
Crocs,
Shirt with a collar?
shirt with a collar, yeah.
Untucked?
But again, also
Don't look
that's
at me,
just
Bob.
city hall staff.
Right.
Oh,
Well, police department's in
sorry.
uniform.
Right.
Yeah, they've got mandatory uniforms.
Well, that was where I was gonna hop in, just to make sure, if you make one option available, are we locked in? I mean, obviously, PD can't have, free run of the casual day, but I mean, we're able to exclude certain employees from this list.
Well, because for one thing, we buy the uniforms, and they buy what feels good, feels comfortable for them, for the police department. So yeah, we're looking at just this section of the city to make a change in that.
So no problem if Steve, for instance, said, hey, Public Works could do could do 410s, but the office staff can't do 410s.
They're not our employees.
Yes, true.
Yes, that would have been an issue at one time.
Gotcha,
Because that was
gotcha.
also what we talked about, same thing, making sure that we can
Okay.
offer a service on a Friday or a Monday. That's it. Oh, create personal holidays in lieu of our current adopted holidays. So if you wanted to take a holiday away like President's Day and just say you have a floating personal holiday.
I'll chime in here because some of you know that I brought it up before. So with the city recognized holidays, we have 13, I believe.
Yeah.
All the federal holidays, with the exception of Columbus, and then they're also granted Christmas Eve, the day after Thanksgiving, and Good Friday. It's kind of been a weird sticking point for me that a government agency or entity would offer a religious holiday off for a single denomination as Good Friday. And so I would almost move to remove Good Friday as an observed holiday, but I'm not opposed to making it a personal holiday, you know.
Floating holiday.
Yeah, like the employee can use it any other time or so. It's just, when you have the freedom of religion, you also have the freedom without religion, and dedicating it toward one is...
I'm surprised it hasn't come up to be an
Yeah.
issue and stuff, but I like the floating day,
Yeah.
you know,
So
just
it-
however you.
Christmas too then as well?
Huh?
Would that be Christmas too then as well?
Depends on how deep you want to get into it. I recognize Christmas as a Christian holiday, but globally there are a lot of pagan traditions with it. It also coincides with a lot of times with winter solstice, Hanukkah, Boxing Day, globally. So Kwanzaa, the time of year can be better justified with that. I'm not opposed to anybody taking off that day. It's just as a government entity for one religious, for a very specific denomination is kind of a weird sticking
There's
point
more
for
than
me.
one denomination observe Christmas.
Yeah, and for many
That's
it
the
is a
difference, right?
denominational celebration, but not everybody. So,
Okay, I'm going to touch base on your first one here, paid holidays for part-time employees and stuff, but, you know, there's a federal law out there that defines part-time employees as 30 hours or less. Over 30 hours, you are obligated to pay benefits.
Right. I think it's 32, but yes.
It's 32.
Is it 32? Okay. So,
But we don't have part-timers that work those hours. We're less than 30. We have to keep people below 30 because of loggers. Because of our retirement benefit, if we have people work 30 hours and they're going to meet the 1,500 hour minimum in a year, so we
correct,
can't
which
do
is the same thing for several benefits.
that.
The second one, you know, is kind of misleading, allow part-time employees to sign up for health insurance, not city paid. You know, the downside to that is they do, you know, any part-time employees, if you're allowing them on your insurance plan, you're now subject to their exposure. You know, if they come in with something bad, you know, that reflects on everybody's, it reflects on our policy costs. So even though we're not paying a portion of it, we still see the exposure.
Right. Yeah, an existing condition.
There's a lot of perks here.
Oh, again, I'm saying, we don't adopt all of these. I'm
Right.
just giving you, I wanted to give you some options, because that was my.
Well, what about that, you know, we want
Performance
to make a
review.
decision on that floating holiday, I don't,
How would that work with the
Yeah.
police department, though?
Yeah.
If it's a floating holiday?
It'd be the
They
same
don't get
as,
holidays.
same as any employee. Usually with a personal holiday, it's a little rougher for them.
Yeah.
But it would be the same as anybody calling in saying, you know, I need to take a holiday. Depends on how we want to structure it.
See, and that's it. Do we call it a holiday or do we call it a personal day?
Call it personal day, and
Yeah.
then, you know, you have to give 2 weeks' notice. You know, you want to take that personal day, you give clear with your supervisor. Yeah,
I got a question, so how does our police department observe holidays?
they get paid for them.
Oh, just simply they get paid for them? Right.
That's why I was
Hoping
saying,
they
do
didn't
we
shut
want to
down.
call it a holiday? Because then it's the extra, we worry about that, or we have to take that into account.
Right, or you take that into account, that's what they get as another paid. Or it would be the same, they're already getting paid for it now.
Right.
If you take Good Friday away and then just say personal holiday, well, then they would just get paid for that day.
Yeah, my goal here isn't to take anything away from anybody with that, so certainly whatever we need to do to make sure that it's fair both here in the office and in our police department, however we've got to structure that, that's fine. It was just a sticking point for me on that one, so.
Oh, I agree with you. I think it's borderline, you know, it needs to be looked at, but I would want it to be completely legal, you know, whatever we do, whatever we call that day, you know, swap it out for them. Happy on flexible scheduling and stuff. I mean, we don't have a lot of people here, and I don't know how much they have to interact with each other to be able to accomplish their job. You know, if we have people coming and going, is that going to cause delays for, I mean, I don't know how much interaction now the department or the people have. Is it all the time? Is it a little bit here and there, or constantly? But if somebody's not here doing their job, is that going to cause other people to not be able to do their job?
There's potential, yeah, because everybody's got a specific job that they do, and you have the interaction that goes on. You know, it's always the day that they're not there that you need them. I mean, that's the way.
You know, with a
Murphy's
small
Law.
staff, it becomes even more critical.
Right, yeah.
So back to the floating holiday thing. How's that going to be determined if most of the staff puts in for the same day and they all still want to take Good Friday and we don't have enough to keep City Hall open? Is that going to be your discretion, who submits first, or who gets denied, or is it a deniable thing?
It's deniable just like any vacation day is. It's, you know, it's like a vacation day when you say, you have to give notice for it. If we require that you give notice, then we would know ahead of time how many people are taking that day off. And then structure it where it's, you can or can't.
So do we need to set anything in our policy that, I mean, restricting how many people? I mean, just so that we have it covered in policy that no more than 2 people can request the same day off, or, you know what, or something like that.
Yeah, we can word it however we need to make it function. And I still have to bring you an ordinance to adopt any of this stuff, so this is just preliminary discussion. So, yeah.
Happy, the one thing that I didn't see on here that is pretty common out there is probationary periods.
So
You know,
we have what's called an introductory period.
What's that?
We have what's called an introductory period. So that's a 6-month probationary type period.
And what is that for?
New employees, or we also observe it when somebody moves into a different position. So they have to, they're eligible for benefits, but you're restricted in that first 6 months, and then at the same time, you're giving them a performance review at the end of 6, whether you want to keep them or if they want to stay. Still at will employees, you can,
Okay,
leave
let's
at any time.
let's talk a little bit more about that restrictive period then. What does that restrict them?
I don't have the personnel policy in front of me, so I'm going off of just what I've looked
Right,
at.
and I haven't looked at it either, but let's say an employee starts February 1, when are they entitled to paid holidays?
6 months in, they accrue while they're working. But they accrue, so they accrue them, but they aren't allowed to take
I paid
take
some
vacation
off.
days, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Paid holidays, they get day one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm thinking
That's
vacation.
where I was heading. Day one, they get a paid holiday. Day two is
So
a,
by policy, if you get promoted to a new position, you're not eligible for a pay raise at evaluation time. I found out this week.
okay, so we know paid holidays now is day two. What about paid vacation?
I don't think they're eligible for vacation until 6 months, or, yeah, 6 months in.
Yeah, I'd like to get that clarified and stuff. And also, what about, I guess every benefit we offer, paid insurance or, participating, is that
Insurance are eligible the next month after they
the
start.
first day of the following month, right? It's pretty common.
Plus workers' compensation, the federal regulations that that are required. They always get those.
Well, workers' comp is day one,
Right.
right?
So if we went to a personal holiday, we could also put a restriction on that, can't use until 6 months or whatever, so that somebody's not using it
Right.
right away.
I've seen, I saw
Maybe
some
wrong.
cities that do it, but in order to use it like for that year, you have to be an employee before like September 30th or something too. Whatever, like to get your benefit, if they come later in the year.
Well, and a lot of them do it by quarters and they prorate, paid time off, and vacation time also is prorated,
Right.
based off the quarter that you start during the year. Holiday hunting season leave, Jeff? Not to mention you in particular, but no.
So that's just, when we have public works, you have people that take time off, want to take time off then. Do you want to offer anything extra? It's just one of those, we've got where we increase the vacation benefit down below, so that probably plays into that, but. So you could also do like bonus vacation days. We talk about not giving, extra money for somebody that goes above and beyond the call of duty, but you could maybe assign so many days in different departments to say, you can dole out an extra vacation day if you feel that they've exceeded the expectations.
Touchy, so good.
Yeah, it's all touchy. Yeah. 457 retirement plan, that's something that you go through a group like Nationwide or Fidelity, or there are others that the employee contributes to a retirement plan, and it's based on mutual funds that you can invest in.
Is that something that the city hall employees are, that
Nope.
they're interested in?
Nobody's
Beyond
asked
the
about it,
loggers?
yeah, but it's not available, so it's just one of those things that you can make available. And it's, usually there's no cost to the city. I mean, we wouldn't do it if it did cost.
So what's the difference in the 457 and the loggers and a 401k?
So 457 is a 401k for federal, or for government employees.
And then there's no penalty for taking out early or something like that?
So,
Or some, for like before, there's some of the stipulations with it that are a little different than the 401k about like early withdrawal,
Right.
like before 59 and a half or whatever.
Yeah.
but it's not a simple plan to where the city contributes a matching portion.
If the city contributes, then it's called a 401A. Yeah, so we're not contributing, we just make it available if employees want to contribute to it and build that nest egg for when they're going to.
Does that also qualify to be pre-tax?
I mean, if it's something that the employees were interested in, I'd entertain it, I think.
Well, we'll do a survey to them and see if,
But as far as you know, it's a pretty open plan. They can participate in it if they want to and how much they want to.
yep. There's no minimums, there's no minimum employees. I mean, most places are going to want, so many employees to really be able to make it work. But we would have to go out for an RFQ, find the company that we wanted to work with. We'd probably know how many employees were thinking about contributing, and that would give them a heads up as to whether they would want to submit or not.
So I guess the 457 would fall under the same as the 401K then, as far as you have to start taking disbursements then at age 70 and all of those requirements. Okay.
Community benefit paid hours, allowing staff to work with civic organization, church group, or some other group that you want to designate during business hours. How that would work for the police department would be something we'd have to discuss, but that's just, contributing back to the community. Increase in vacation benefit. So 2 to 4 years, 2 weeks. So this is the proposed amounts, 3 to 9 years, 3 weeks, 10 to 19 years, 4 weeks. We do not have a 5-week vacation, so that would be 20 years. You get 5 weeks. For new employees, you could start them at 2 weeks, so they wouldn't be able to use them for 6 months.
So what is our program now?
You will have a week after, is it a week? Yeah, a week after 1 year. So again,
Strictly paid vacation, that doesn't include personal days.
Right.
Right.
Or it doesn't include holidays.
Right.
Yeah. Employee snow day, we didn't have one this past Wednesday, that turned out okay. But if we had to close City Hall, you'd have, let's say, mayor and I call it, say it's going to be too bad for employees to come in, so then the employees would get a snow day. Then you'd just be paying another holiday for the police department, just to make it even.
So Happy, if there is bad weather, an employee wants to call in, you're fairly generous with that as far as letting them use a vacation day? Okay.
So is it vacation day or personal day?
Well, they
We don't have personal days.
Oh, that's right.
See, I like that. I mean, I understand that, but again, it seems like it's City Hall employees, it benefits, and then not so much with the officers. I really feel like if we're gonna look into any of these, it should be the increasing the vacation benefit based on the years of service. I think we're a little behind the norm where we are right now, and it's gonna reward our longer term employees. I'm not looking at you specifically, Pam. But
Who has enough trouble getting her 4 weeks in, here now we're going for 5.
But I think that that's a good way to reward employees. If we have positions with higher turnover, we're not getting a big loss because it's the employees that have been here a while who are getting the extra benefit.
So you get 1 week after 1 year, for 1 year.
Right.
What's the next step up?
2 weeks?
At 2 years?
Sorry, yeah.
2 to 9, is it?
2 to 4 years, you get 2 weeks. Oh, I'm sorry. 2 to 3 years would be 2 weeks. Oh, I'm sorry, it really was just 2 years. I got screwed up on my years. So 2 years, you get 2 weeks. Then 3 to 9, we would go to 3 weeks. 10 to 19, we go to 4 weeks, and then 20 years, we're adding a week, which we don't have in place now.
Okay, so what you have here is current with an addition of.
No.
No, this
2
is,
to 10 years now is 2 weeks.
This is a proposed,
yeah,
what he sent us.
That's what I was
Yes, but
thinking,
the-
and then
sorry.
Yeah,
I misunderstood something else that you just said.
No, I put,
So
I
right
typed it
now,
wrong.
from 2 to 10 years, you only have 2 weeks.
Right.
That's what I was trying to understand.
that's a pretty big
Yeah,
chunk,
that's,
I think.
yeah, that's not right.
So Happy, is there any way to get a cost associated with this, of what we would be looking for to implicate this, or?
The cost would be, it depends on which ones you want to do. If you're looking at what it would cost per employee, so you would just base it on a week's pay, or what you're looking at is if you don't have to have somebody replace them, you're just not, you don't get their services. So you're not actually paying anything, except for, they would be working those hours anyway. So the pay would stay the same, but you
On
would
a-
just not have the benefit.
On occasion, there might be part-time expense though, like for the police department, if they couldn't make the schedule work in order to have coverage.
I'm not sure I understand.
We would have an additional expense while somebody's on vacation to cover that shift. That would be the
Yes.
only additional
Yeah.
expense.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We need to do something about the increasing vacation benefit. 2 to 10 years, only 2 weeks, that's, nobody's working for that.
That's
I
what
don't
makes
know
the
how we
most
got
sense
by
to
with
me,
that.
and it would benefit all the full-time employees.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to worry about certain segments of the employees benefiting and others not.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like some of these. I like this idea of a snow day. I really like the community benefit paid hours. If we can explore that and figure out how to make that work in the future, that would be great. I think as a city, that's a great thing for us to do. But I really feel like increasing the vacation benefit would probably,
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to ask around and see if there's something on this list that we're kind of dismissing, but the employees want, I'd like to hear that. Or if anybody in the back wants to speak up.
I mean, it's,
If there are benefits that benefit the city hall employees, then I think that you should do that and consider letting the officers have take-home cars. That would be a good incentive for attracting new employees and retaining the employees that we have. And even if there's some segregation on what benefits they actually get, they don't have cars at all, so a take-home car would be a huge benefit for the police department guys.
There you go. All right, so we're gonna check with the employees. We'll move forward on the vacation benefit and creating a personal holiday or personal day, or just trying to figure out how that works.
yeah, just at least figuring out how it works to have a more in-depth conversation later, but I thought it was a good time for me to bring it up since it's been a point that I wanted to make for a while.
Yep. So, all right, we'll bring something back, and then we'll also pass these around to employees, see if we get some feedback on that, see what they think. Okay,
Well, for this next session, we need a motion to go into closed session for real estate and for hiring,
Motion to go into
Real-
closed session for real estate
and with hiring,
And hiring.
and hiring,
and hire.
and performance.
and performance review.
And performance.
And firing.
And fire.
So I have a motion,
I'll second.
have a second, have a roll call, please.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes?
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Sure.
Alderman Armbruster. Yes. Motion carries. 7-12.
He gets
After you want to close the work session?
I adjourn this